All
Hey
right, we're live.
everybody, welcome. Hey everyone, welcome to our first live event featuring Option Stalker Pro. Got all sorts of great stuff to discuss. I'm going to be going over some of my favorite features and the things that I use, and Will's going to be talking about some of the things that he's been working on. The one takeaway is that we never stop improving. I've been doing this since the financial crisis in 2009, and I have never stopped. When I look back at some of my old videos, it's a little embarrassing. It's humbling, to be quite honest, because it is a plain Jane, but that was the start. And I'd be remiss if I didn't give a lot of the credit to Will. He has been a driving force behind all of this. So, Will, thank you so much. Say hi to everybody.
Hey guys. Yeah, Pete, thank you so much for the opportunity. Really, it's just been a joy improving this with you guys. And I like to say it to a lot of people that we speak with over email, doing the beta tests, and that offer suggestions. What's so cool about the chat room is how focused it is on the one trading style. And I like to expand on that same theme with the software, trying to make it as focused as possible on trading relative strength and weakness. And because we have such a close relationship with the community, I take pride in the fact that we can really listen to you guys, everyone here, and um, try to make this exactly as you need it for the system. And that's really the edge we have as as a platform, as a product. And we hope it gives you more of an edge trading. So that, yeah, thanks Pete for having me. It's been great these past 2 years.
Oh, but you just hit a couple of points I want to mention right now. Sending me emails doesn't do any good as far as suggestions on what we should include in the platform. So let me show you where the suggestion box is, because I get this question all the time. When you log into the website, in the left margin of the chat room, you've got this little menu up here, this little sandwich, I think it's called, and you click it, and these are all the settings for the chat room. And down below, you'll see suggestion box. If you have ideas on how we can improve Option Stalker Pro, this is where you want to put those suggestions, because Will sees all of this. Centrally located, we might not get to it right away, but we look at all of them. So you are also partly the reason that Option Stalker Pro is what it is today. Look at all of your suggestions. So that's how you can submit that. I'm going to do one other little housekeeping thing here very quickly, because I get this question all the time. And it is, how do I get the extended hours? How do I get these other time frames? Well, right now I've got AVGO up because they are going to announce earnings. But you can see at the top of the chart, there's this little drop down arrow here. And this is where you can select all the time frames that you'd like to have displayed. Among them is EH. And so if you mark that, you will get the extended hours. Actually, you might have that shown by default right now because I'm not seeing it in this list. But the blue EH means extended hours. That's another nice feature. You see the extended hours even if you go into a daily chart. So if you come in the morning, it's looking at what's happening pre-open, and you'll see the day's new candle starting to form already if you have EH marked. So let's keep an eye on what AVGO is doing and see how those earnings come out. I've got an agenda. I'm going to go through some of the things that I like to use on Option Stalker Pro. Anything you'd like to mention before I get started, Will?
No, go ahead. I'm just doing a little
Okay.
housekeeping in the chat here.
If you could, please post your questions to the YouTube chat. That way, for those who are watching the recording, we'll have all of them centralized. We'll keep a little bit of an eye on our chat room in Option Stalker as well. Excuse me, OneOption. So here are the things that I like within Option Stalker Pro. We've made it a lot more user-friendly. So I'm just going to knock through this list. I'm going to go through these blue bullet points. I'm going to pause. We'll take a look at some of your questions. Hopefully they'll be mainly focused around this, but we'll get all of your questions by the end. And I'm sure that when I start showing you some things, that might spawn some new questions. So let me start off and just show you some of the things that I really like. The searches, obviously. We've got all of these swing and day trading searches. Green Royal Flush. You see me use it day in and day out. It's in all of my different videos. If we need to have a stock strong on a daily chart, this is a fantastic search. It isn't on a buy signal on a D1 basis. It's on a buy signal across every time frame. And what makes the new version even better is that you can come up to the top of the column header. This is Windows based. So for those of you who've used Windows program, it's all right click driven. You right click on pretty much anything and it's going to do something. Right click on a chart, right click on a column header. So when we right click on the column header, you can see edit columns. You can see there are also some other choices as well, but edit columns is at the very bottom. This is where you can add any variable that you'd like. And there are many to choose from. So it's really up to you what you want to display. I've had some of you ask, hey, there's something wrong with the platform. I, put my variables up and nothing's updating. Well, we do limit the number of variables that you can pull. And if you got 50 variables up there, you max it out. We allow, 20 variables, Will?
When it comes to lists, I think it's 25 now. So yeah, you can have 25 columns at one time.
Right, so we have to put a limit somewhere. The beauty of it is that consistent with the idea of the best of the best, a spot within a spot within a spot, these searches are going to give us the best bullish picks. We've got descriptions on how each one of the searches works, what they look for. Each one's a little bit different in terms of what they look for. Familiarizing yourself with what they're looking for will help you to use them in different market environments. But when you look at this list, you can go down and instantly see, oh, hey, AVGO is green across all time frames for the buy sell signals, relative strength. It's got good volume. It makes it so easy to go in and zero in on exactly the stocks that you should be looking at. So love all the searches. Love the fact that we can customize the columns. You can use whatever variables you like. So that's the beauty of the scans and the searches. And you can create your own. We'll get into that in just a minute. I think Will had a couple of things he wanted to say about the searches as well.
Yeah, as far as the list columns in this last update, we added the average daily volume, 20-day daily volume as a column option, earnings dates, option liquidity rating, ATR as a percentage, and today's volatility, which is a percentage of ATR as a percentage. And we added that LSRI state, Pete, that you wanted to add too,
Yeah.
which is the hollow dots.
And so I'll go down. There are divergences. I'm just trying to scroll down to some of the things you're pointing out. There's liquidity is option liquidity. Is that right, Will?
Right, yeah.
And there is the LRSI state. So the LRSI state I kind of mentioned in my last video. So I'm going to just click OK. And I have it in the watch lists. And I'm going to go to a chart ETF. And this is nice because I can show you how to do this. So right click and we're going to edit columns. And I'm going to remove price. Personally, you can have price up there if you want. For me personally, I don't care where these ETFs are trading and whether or not they have a big percentage change or not. What I want to do is I just want to add the LRSI state so I can kind of see what each group or sector is doing and what is its current condition. So I'm going to add all the time frames. I like going across multiple time frames. And we'll add the H1 and then I'll add the D1. Click OK. There you go. You can add whatever you want to your watch lists, but this shows me that LRSI across all the different sectors, it's still bullish right now. So for any of you who are looking for potential shorts, well, XPH is the only one that longer term is bearish. And you can see here how these shorter time frames are bearish. And now we're starting to get a bearish signal on the L30. What the heck does that hollow red circle mean? Well, that means that it was just above 80 and now it has crossed below 80. So it's not quite bearish yet, but it's getting there. And as soon as it goes below 20, then it will turn solid red. The same concept would apply if you see a hollow green LRSI. It's going from a bullish condition, or excuse me, a bearish condition. So LRSI is below 20. Now it's above 20. So it's not quite above 80. If it gets there, it'll turn solid green. So this is just another visual aid for you so that you can look across and see kind of what the trend is. And here, XLI, that is bullish LRSI across all time frames. If I'm looking for that perfect chart with a nice tight pattern, I think this one would fit. So yes, that's and again, I've been kind of harping on that nice tight pattern. You really should not compromise at all on this. The tighter, the better. You want that upward momentum. When you have orderly price action like this, we can predict where it's going. We are in the right mental state, and we're prepared to add to the position.
Yeah, so, pretty cool. So one thing that someone says in the chat here, Shai says you can use the search bar instead of scrolling for the columns. I don't know if, Pete, could I switch over to my screen and show what he means by that?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, 1 second. All right, we should be seeing it now. So Pete, I don't know if you could see my screen, but all I'm doing is right-clicking one of the columns, headers, choosing edit column, and in that same visible columns window that pops up, you can scroll, but you can also just start typing to filter LSRI state, for instance, right here. So, or average, AVWAP, for instance. Oh, I already have average volume, that's why I didn't pop up. But it's a way to go a little bit quicker. Thanks, Shai. That was a good little tip there. The other things on the scanner, just as far as UI is concerned, before we move on, we added a few things, cleaned up the design a bit. Russ from the chat, who's away at work right now, he had the great idea of kind of bringing back a piece of some of the old scanner design. So we added these pre-configured and custom buttons that lets you quickly flip between the pre-configured scanners we have and the custom scanners you make. And we added this little toggleable to show and hide all the lists. This way, when you have all of, you can expand it a little bit and see your full list by hiding the other lists. The only other things we added was in the filters, we added sector filters. If you wanted to filter the scanner results by sector, we also added average volume. And we added a blacklist feature. If there's any tickers you never want to use, you can add them to this blacklist, and they'll never show up on any of our scanners. Yeah, and beyond that, I mean, this applies to all lists, so we can explain this a little bit more later, but the keyboard shortcuts with these lists are up and down arrows. If you're selected in the list, you can change your list. If you're inside of a list, you can use the up and down arrows to change which row is selected, and right or left arrow to load that in the linked chart. Also, if you don't want to use that method, you can just press spacebar and it will both change the row and select it inside of your linked chart. And there's that autoplay feature, this little play icon up top. So if you wanted to auto flip, you can start and stop that using return or enter. You can see it turned
Why
into a
don't you
little
show
pause
people how to
sign.
set the speed for that too, Will?
Right, yeah. So file settings, in app settings here, we're slowly adding more and more, and it's basically a hodgepodge because it's a newer feature, but we'll start to organize it as we need to. Here are app settings overall, and one of them, because it applies to more than one list, would be the chart playback speed here at the bottom, just a little slider to change. I know everybody has a different internet connection or broker speed connection with their API, so sometimes you might need to change that to make it load right with the charts that you're using. Good call, Pete. What else did we change? The only other thing is this little counter at the top, shows the results in each scanner in the chart, in the scanner toolbar, sorry. I think that's everything. Pete, did that make sense?
Yeah, really just nice stuff. You've got really good eye for design, and your user interface is always super slick. And I'm going to be showing you an example of that in just a second. I did have a question from Mo. He said, did you guys have any progress you could report on the Schwab API? No, we don't. I mean, they don't even have the endpoints for real-time data to us yet. So this is all just really basic rudimentary stuff, and they're not ready. Bottom
Yeah.
line, they just are not ready.
I'm a little more optimistic. I wrote in the chat 30% of the way there because I was referring to the fact that they did give us APIs for account access. So we can access or allow OSP to access your account data, but there's no reason to connect OSP to Schwab if you don't have real-time data. So we're just waiting to get that from Schwab. And it really does seem like we're the only people, or maybe just the first people, asking them for this stuff, huh, Pete?
Oh, absolutely. It's like, huh? The Schwab portal doesn't work? Yeah, I can't even get to the page and it crashes. Oh, we'll put somebody on that. It's like, really? How many people do you have on this? I would think you'd have thousands of people pounding your door down asking you what the heck's going on.
Yeah, who
So
knew?
yeah, it's a crazy situation.
I
So
got a question here. Sorry, Pete, I have a quick question that relates before we move on. Brian asks, is there a way to save or load different column layout configurations? That's a good thought, actually. No, we have chart templates. I'm going to switch back from Pete's screen to mine. Down at the bottom here, this little saved icon lets you save indicator templates for your charts to quickly load them in. But we don't yet have anything like that for columns. It might be a nice thing. We'll consider it. I won't say that that's high on our priority list, Brian, but yeah, we'll think about it. All right, Pete, it's on your screen now.
yep, good idea. And so let's see, I was taking a look. What's the difference between LRSI and LRSI new? We do have, and why don't I put up custom search?
Yeah, good
This has
segue.
been completely redesigned, and Will and our programmer Dima have been working really hard on this. It's slick. It just looks really nice. And instead of having to scroll down within the whole interface, now if you want to have relative strength versus the market M5, you click it once, it's bullish. You click it a second time, it's bearish. And now you can click it a third time to remove that variable. And when you have compression breakouts or trade signals, then we're going to see trade signal new and trade signal. Anytime that you see new, it means that the signal was generated in the previous period or the period before that. This is a new signal. For those of you who like getting in early, you would want to use the new. But realize risk and reward go hand in hand. A new signal may not have all the confirmation, so it may fail. Whereas the regular signal, it could have been new or it could have been older and gone through multiple confirmation. So, you might think, hey, I want to get in early. I want to get in early. Give me all the new stuff. Well, risk reward. So, that's the difference. And you'll see that in a number of different places where we have the regular signal, and then a new signal. So as we go down and take a look at all the variables, you'll notice that we added sector. I took out all of the previous trend line breaches and breakouts. That was an older method that we use, and an older method for how we draw the lines. So we've got a much better method right now, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about that as well. So the trade signal, all these variables are covered heavily in the Option Stalker Pro manual. And I could show you where that is, but I hope all of you know where that is. That is in the dashboard. The dashboard on the website is your hub. That's where everything resides. That's where you can find almost all your answers.
Yeah, and I'll chime in there. I mean, we do have to update a few things since this last update. I'm getting to it. I promise, guys. It'll be there soon.
You know, that's the hard part too, is it's great to be pushing the envelope and you get all this stuff out. And, you know, before Will, I was even more guilty of it. I'd be like, just get it out the door and I'll write about it later. It's the kind of the maintenance cleanup part of it, is doing all the documentation and then writing about all of it, which is quite honestly pretty boring compared to, hey, everybody, check this out. We got this new weapon. So yes, we're trying to be very diligent about it. You're doing a great job on it, by the way, Will. So I read all the release notes. Anytime we have a new release, you're going to find out what's changed, what's improved. So please make sure that you keep up with that before you ask questions. So the lower section has changed pretty dramatically because we've added some really cool things. We've added the earnings. So we used to have earnings were tied to specific dates and a calendar. And that's not effective because those dates change all the time. And what we're really looking for when we're trading is not necessarily show me a stock that's reported in the last 2 calendar weeks, that calendar staying stagnant, but it's show me a stock or a company that's reported earnings in the last 10 trading days. And so it continues to move forward. And we like to use 10 days, as you know from the videos, because that gives the stock a chance to settle down. And then you get to see its true colors. We've added a lot of, so we've got projected earnings dates, which, by the way, earnings are very fickle. Companies change them all the time. So it's a moving target. And you'll find this to be true of any site that publishes earnings dates. Everybody's scrambling, trying to get the date. So you have projections, and those projections are based on when the company has previously posted earnings. And you have confirmations from the company itself. Yes, absolutely. This is the day that we're going to release earnings. And so when we're more than 2 or 3 weeks out, oftentimes those earnings dates are not confirmed, they are projected. But we're continually updating those so that hopefully when we get inside of 2 weeks, those are confirmed earnings dates. We did have a little bit of a glitch as far as how we were calculating this, no earnings within. So this is a nice feature. So if I'm looking to do bullish put spreads, no earnings within 30 days or 20 days. And these are going to be trading days. It's important for us to reference trading days. So, okay, now I've got 4 weeks before there's any earnings announcement. That means that I've got lots of expirations that I can pick from to do a bullish put spread. So that's how all these earnings searches are very, very powerful. I don't know of other platforms that have it. Maybe there are many that have it. But I like that feature, and that's something that I use a lot. AVWAP-E we added, and you can see that right here. So that's another variable. So in addition to searching above or below the major moving averages, you can also put AVWAP-E, trendline breakout. VWAP for M5, really nice. So if you are looking for a stock, that is pulling back, but it's been able to retain the VWAP, that's something that you can use right here. Will, anything that I'm missing? Anything you want to point out?
1 second. Let me just make sure in custom search. No earnings date within, you mentioned. The earnings date specifiers are new. Um, I'll switch over to mine really quick. Oops. Here we go.
The flip. Yeah, the flip is nice. You added that.
Right, yeah. So you mentioned I guess I call them tertiary, the try checkboxes in the upper section. We also have that in the lower section here. So I think somebody was asking this in the YouTube chat. Will we be able to scan by high plus and low plus trend lines separately, electrotrote? Um, I think the high trend line breakout is a high minus trend line. Is that right, Pete?
Are you looking in the lower section?
The lower section, the trend line breakout search, yeah. The when you click it and you can make it bullish, so it's a high trend line breakout. Those
Right, that'd
are
be a high minus.
That's a high minus, yeah. And so if you click it again, it's also tertiary down here. It's a bearish now, so it's a low trend line breakdown. And
Right.
I think that answers your question, Electrotrode. I don't know if we don't plan to add high plus anytime soon. But yeah, we can talk about it. Send us a suggestion. What else is in the lower section? ATR as a percentage right here. You can see in this version, I'm running a little beta. When you select these binary ones, they turn blue in the background. It's kind of nice so that at a glance, you can see what's active, just like the blue and green backgrounds on the tertiaries. And yeah, Pete, I think that's it. Overall, we just added a few new ones in the upper section. We cleaned up the layout. We added this flip side feature that Pete mentioned, so you can quickly turn a scanner from bearish to bullish and vice versa. And yeah, that's about it. We're really happy with it. I just like looking at this thing now. And what else? Oh yeah, and over the weekend, this past weekend, we also updated OS Web. So I'm dragging this into the screen for you guys to see. OS Web now has the same user interface as OSP and all the same indicators. So we try to keep these as up to date and synced for you as possible. But yeah, that's it, Pete. I'll switch it back to you.
All right, which, as we're switching back and forth, Will likes to use dark. A lot of you like to use dark, and I like to use light. So that was even a huge improvement. We did that about a year ago, but it used to be white is all you get. So I think a lot of you really enjoy using the darker colors. Let's take a look at the next thing I had was the alerts. This has been a huge ad for us. So you've all probably seen me do this on the charts. By the way, let's take a look at AVGO just to see what happened after hours. So it looks like the stock is down a little bit, but it might not have actually reported. This doesn't look like that much of a reaction for it. So we could still be waiting. In any event, the alerts, right click, create price alert, and then there are all sorts of variables that you can choose from. Price, if you have a specific price that you're looking for, relative strength going strong and then weak or strong. Now, we used to have the true plus variable, and when Will and I were talking, we said, we've got to simplify this. If someone's using one variable, then our servers already know what the current state is. And if you're looking for it to go bullish and it's already bullish, well, then we know it's got to go bearish and then bullish. So it's just much easier to use. And for single variables, that's how they all work. So it takes 2-3 seconds to set these alerts. Will is also working on something. You want to talk about what you're working on with the multiple alerts and being able to save those?
Yeah, you can see on Pete's screen right now that at the bottom there is a template drop down. This isn't on your version of OSP yet, crew, but Yeah, we could probably release this pretty soon. We'll see as if it's stable. But just like chart templates, this will let you save alert templates. I know a lot of you guys have sent suggestions asking for this because you have these alerts that you use often. I guess a confluence of a few things that you want to be alerted of, like a 3-8 cross on a time frame plus a relative strength, that sort of thing. This will let you add those really quickly without having to tediously add a bunch of different parameters every single time. I'm gonna, I guess the one thing that I did just learn from Dima actually, and I'm switching over to mine, Pete, real quick, and
Yep.
adding a regular alert here. So if we were to add a 3-8 crossover on the M5, you can see you just press plus here. And previously, Dima had a little keyboard shortcut so that if you pressed Control D while it was selected, it would add time frame windows here. So you could add a bunch of other time frames for the same alert really quickly. And it's good to know. He already had that in the in the features. Dima did that for us, Pete, and I guess I missed that. But what we did was we were also adding this little ellipsis icon to make it so it's a little more intuitive. You can add time frames. So basically time frame duplicates of the existing alert really quickly that way. Um, Other than that, as far as alerts, are we doing alerts in general? I guess the only other thing is now you can reset alerts from the alert console, alert history if it's eligible, if you just right click it. And I think that's it as far as alerts. There hasn't been a lot we've done there. Let me go over a few things while Pete, you can take over and I'll let you know if there's anything I forgot.
Sure. We are looking at having alerts sent through Option Stalker as well. That's a longer term project for us. It's complicated, but it is something that we plan on doing, especially for swing traders, because we are going to be looking for ways to attract a swing audience. And that's probably some of the biggest feedback that I get from the trial takers is we've got a lot of working professionals. And if you get on a really nice D1 chart and you want to set an alert, you can do that. Well, if you're working, then you might not be able to watch the market, but you have your phone with you, you set that alert, D1 basis, and then when that alert is triggered, you'll be notified. So that is one thing that we're working on with regards to alerts. I had someone ask if you can display 10TL now and 10TL all and past. So first of all, let me talk about this feature, and I'm going to click 10TL past. So the one thing that I'm going to mention to you is you'll see that a lot of lines are being added as I scroll back. So scroll all the way out. You have to, because only then do we have enough data points to run all the calculations and to display the lines. This has been a very long-term project for me, and the logic behind the trend lines actually stems from what Dave Wise has been talking about. And Dave and I have been using these trend lines for quite a while, and I ask him for continual feedback on them. And he uses them. He likes them. They're good. Are they perfect? No. But I have described to Dave why my lines are drawn a certain way, and there is some interpretation that needs to take place. And based on that interpretation, the lines might not be as he would draw them, but he understands why I've drawn my lines the way that I have. And the intercept is fairly close. I believe mine are going to be a little bit earlier because of the logic that I have built into it. But if you're wanting to go and look at previous trend lines and breakouts to see how accurate the trend lines have been, then zoom all the way out and then simply start flipping charts, and you'll be able to see where they've come into play. But you can see, I mean, the major breaches that we have in here. These lines are excellent. They're a fantastic variable to use. And it sure as heck saves an incredible amount of time not having to hand draw them. Qualcomm, this is a really nice one. The longer the trend line, the more relevant the trend line is. So when you get a really long-term breach like this one right here, that's going to be meaningful. Right there to right there. Yeah, that's going to be a very meaningful breakout. Hey, it's above AVUAP. It's above all the major moving averages. Checkbox, checkbox, checkbox. So you can go back and use OneOTL. I didn't want to have them both together because I figured you're really doing two things. When you use OneOTL past, you're going back to look at how accurate they were. Did it catch this breakdown? Did it catch that breakdown? When you're using OneOTL now, you're really only looking at what in the heck is happening right now. And some of the lines that are drawn longer term, if they're out of range and they're more than 5 ATRs, 20-day ATR, beyond the current price, we don't show them. They're not relevant. The stock is not going to get there today. So that's a little bit on the trend lines, but always controversial to talk about trend lines and algo lines and everything. If you like them, use them. I sure as heck use them all the time, and I like using them as a search variable too. So that's kind of all I have to really say. You're a very astute group. I'm always looking to improve things. Some things I'll tell you about. Some things I won't tell you about because I'm just looking to improve them. I have made some improvements to the trend lines, and somebody asked me about that. I'm like, dang,
Yeah.
how did you guys even know that I changed something? So yeah, you were looking at previous trend lines that were drawn, and all of a sudden they weren't there anymore. And I'm like, gee, and they're using OneOTL pass too. So yes, there are fewer lines, and the really reliable, good ones were preserved. So that was the main objective.
Right. One thing, Pete, about OneOTL that we added is on my screen, I'll show you, we have this OneOTL now here. We added the ability to add a good till cancel or, add trend line alerts. So end of day or good till cancel alerts by right clicking them. You can see that one's already breached, so it wouldn't be valid, but all you do is right click and you get this little window. And it's worth noting that we also changed the default colors of the end of day and good till cancel lines. This way, they're slightly different color than the OneOTL lines. Makes it a little easier to differentiate when you're adding a bunch of lines on your chart. And that also brings me to another setting we added in app settings here. If you go there, we added this checkbox to leave triggered alert lines on the chart. There's been a lot of requests for that because you guys will get an alert and then you'll go to the chart and then you'll wonder which trend line just triggered. And yeah, this avoids that. So a nice little feature. Another question that I think we missed was, Pete, somebody asked if we were planning on doing 1OP based alerts. We've gotten this question a few times. I know you've answered it before. Maybe we just do it one more time so it's official. I think what they mean is on crosses, 1OP crosses. Do we have any plans to add an alert like that for people?
Okay, so let me cover that in just a minute because I want to do one more thing on OneOTL. I'm always experimenting with things. So when I'm not in the chat room, I'm working on stuff constantly. I mean, this is my passion. Here's something I'm working on. I'm testing it. I haven't released it yet. I don't release anything until I know that it's good and it's valid. So one thing that I'm working on, and the concept was, as I looked at these trend lines, I thought, there's some tend to be much more valid than others. The longer term ones tend to be more valid, but also when there's nice spacing between the starting point and the end point, the trend lines tend to be more valid too. They tend to be a little bit more important. And so what I've currently got is something, and I don't know that I'll continue to call it this, but it's called OneOTL balanced. And that's what I'm showing you right now. And I believe I've got the past on, so you'll be able to see where that's come into play. One thing I've noticed is that when you get kind of this bow tie formation, those are usually very, very good. But you can see how the distance from there to the actual intercept is balanced. It's not like a long trend line with an endpoint that's right here, and then 10 days later it's breached. No, this has been connecting a long time ago. So this is something that I may release. I don't know. I can click through a couple more and show you some other examples. I need to zoom out, and there you're going to be able to see that's a very long-term trend line that was breached there. Here you've got a nice balanced breakout right in here. So I'll see what my conclusions are. I keep looking at it. I keep testing it. Option Stalker Pro. It may never be what TC2000 is. And I don't care, because that's not my objective. My objective is to take the best tool set, to test everything rigorously, to do things that I have not seen elsewhere that I feel are very relevant, and then to include them into this trading platform and to make it easy to use. So it's out of the box, designed for this platform, and it has been time tested. So it's gone through all the rigors. That's what you're paying for. That's what Option Stalker Pro is. So hopefully all of you have been able to realize how easy this is to use for the system. Let's talk about OneOP, and I'm going to expand it right in here. One nice change that we made was we got rid of the dotted line, because for whatever reason we couldn't increase the pen width for the dotted line, the blue line. So now it's solid, nice heavy pen width. I think I had mine set at a 2 pen width. And you can see those crosses very easily. So we get a bearish cross here today. All right, that's benign, doesn't produce anything. We got a bullish cross here. All right, new high of the day, new all-time high. Yay, we're in go-go mode. Here you've got a bearish 1OP cross, and you can see this is a bullish divergence. Bearish cycle, market should be heading down. Market is compressing. That is a divergence. Can we set alerts for 1OP? Well, we can, but you're going to get a bearish alert right here, and there's nothing bearish going on. So all of a sudden you're going to be thinking, oh, bearish, 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 you know. I mean, I could set these alerts up, but if you don't know how to identify divergences or when to expect them, you're going to be getting false signals all the time, because you really have to take the price action into account. If you know how to do that, and you're like, I just want to know when it crosses. Oh, hey, a bearish cross here is good, because if I got that alert, I'd be looking at it and I'd be thinking, well, there's nothing bearish about it. I'm going to watch to see how this cycle plays out, and then I'll be ready to buy in here, because I know that this didn't produce anything, which tells me that this trend strength is strong. We had some conversations in the chat room earlier today about using 1OP for stocks. So I'm just going to go into a 5-minute chart, and I'm going to put 1OP up. And one of them was, well, Qualcomm was one that I had watched today. And that one, he had a very nice bullish cross right in here. Okay, time to get long. Well, that's a good place to get long. We had really nice, steady stack candles in here. Boom, 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 just climbing, climbing, climbing. Now we've got a bearish cross. Well, we can expect a bullish divergence in here based on that price action. D1 also very, very strong. Okay, well, look at that breakout. Now, when we start seeing this, we're already mentally prepared that, yeah, we probably got a bullish divergence coming up. As I start to see that, and as I see relative strength continuing, I know that this is a very strong trend. So that's how you use the 1OP. We can discuss having those signals. You get other situations where, oh, it crossed. Oh, it's back over. Oh, it crossed. Oh, it's back over. So you're going to ding, 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 ding. You're going to be getting alerts all the time. They're not always this crisp and clean. So I'm open to it, but I've been asked for a long time. I have reservations about it because it requires some interpretation.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of this trading system. It's so discretionary. There's so much to learn. It's a long learning curve. I think it might work well with the push notifications, especially for some swing traders if they're experienced enough. So there's some things to iron out, but we're excited about that being in the works. And yeah, we'll consider it.
All
What
right, so
else?
here's a question about the price bars. So right now I've got the key bars up, and I'll show you how to add those heavy volume bars. We're going to go into all studies. By the way, I mean, I'm using my administrative developer version. So you're going to see some stuff on here that you don't have on yours. Hey, how do I get that? Well, you don't. I'm still working on it, and I'm always testing and developing new things. But you'll all have this. You go down to volume, and it is the volume price bar.
Yeah. And there again, also in that window, you can search at the top to filter which
And
indicators.
this is where you would set it. So I prefer 20 days. If you like 50 days, set it for 50 days. If you like fluorescent green and hot pink like I do, you can set it there. What threshold do you want? You want volume at 100%? Well, that wouldn't make too much sense. I like using 120%. So 120 is the threshold you'd want to put in there. Click it, and then voila. Now you can see where those heavier volume bars come into play. So that's it. That's how we use that. I'm going to show another feature that I kind of had problems finding, but once Will pointed it out, I'm going to go into all studies, and intraday is where you're going to find. So this is the 5-day high low bar. I can add that, and it's going to ask me, and I'm not going to do them all, but you can see intraday lines, ATR. So what we do here is we calculate the 20-day ATR, and based on the closing price the previous day, we draw that line above the closing price and below the closing price. So if you got a hot stock that's really running, you can see, hey, how close is it to that ATR? How close is it to attaining that average daily range running up? Well, it's going to probably start hitting some resistance when it gets up to that level. Prior days, high, low. So you can have that on the chart. And it'll be imposed on today's price action, so you know where the prior day's high and low is. So you're not always zoomed way out on the chart. Sometimes you're zoomed in on it. Well, this will allow you to see where that comes into play. 5-day high and low. Intraday SMA lines, you're able to also add. So the 100, 200-day, 50-day moving averages tend to be for D1 charts, and I will describe that in a little bit. But let's just add this, and then you can select what color you'd like to have for the top and the bottom line for the 5-day high and low. I'm just going to click OK, and then there you'll be able to see the lines drawn. They do actually move forward in time also, so that we're constantly, so today, this is what we want to be watching right in here. The one thing that I wanted to mention on the charts that I really like, this is a great feature. So I'm going to click on the 200-day moving average. I'm going to get these boxes up. As soon as I'm going to left click on it, I should specify that. As soon as I see those boxes, I can right click. And that's what allows me to edit the series. And this is something really cool that Will added, set visibility. So if I only want to see the 200-day moving average on a daily chart, I'll select that. I have it selected for a 30-day as well because I was doing a little bit of testing today on something else I'm working on. But normally I'm not going to have the 30, excuse me, not 30-day, 30-minute. Normally I'm not going to have the 30-minute selected. And this way, when you're moving between a 5-minute chart, you don't see it. Well, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see a 200 period moving average on my 5-minute chart. And that's how it used to work, is if I had 200 selected, it was going to show me a 200-day if I'm in a daily chart and a 200 period M5 if I'm in a 5-minute chart. Well, now I want to see VWAP. So I can select VWAP to only show up when I have an M5 chart up, or we'll click on it and I'll show you how to configure that. And so we'll set visibility, and there you can see your different time frames. I just need to see it on a 5-minute chart. So that's what I've selected.
I love that feature. It's great.
Yeah.
Sorry. I just wanted to say that's one of the best. It's, as a new trader, I wanted to have 1 billion charts up and have every time frame visible at once. And I don't know, maybe that's partly, just being in tech, I get into the whole layout and everything. But the more I've been around you, Pete, the more I've been learning the system. I've been learning how simple it is. And especially with that feature now, I can sit with just one chart and flip through the D1s with all the indicators I want on there, and then switch over to the intraday when, the D1 looks good, and have everything I need there. And that's all I need. I mean, you're set up like you have right here with the SPY in the background. It's pure, it works. Yeah, and just as a learning trader, I'm starting to realize that.
So I just clicked on VWAP. Some of you like the standard deviation line. So now that I've got the boxes, I can display the standard deviation line. So for those of you that like that, that's how you add them. I'm going to click on it once more, and now I can remove that. So really, really nice functionality. I agree. Being able to flip through the charts, and for me, it drives me crazy because I'm doing videos a couple times a week, and then I would have, hey, look, Pete uses the 200 period moving average on his M5 chart. No, I don't. I don't want to keep adding and removing it because I'm flipping between daily charts and 5-minute charts, which kind of brings me to another feature. And I do get questions on this as well. It's some of you like having lots of tabs, so you can tab between charts. So if I click on chart, I can put up a new window, or I can put up a panel, and the panel allows me to nest this chart and tab it. And the way that you would do that is you just keep moving until you get to the center point, and then when I click it, there'll be a tab that's available down here below, and you can see it right there. So you can have a daily and a 5-minute chart if you like using that. But that's how you would go about setting up those chart panels.
Yeah, it's pretty great. What else is there when we're on charts? So we talked about time frame specific, indicator visibility, volume price bars, extended hours, intraday lines. One thing coming for intraday lines is a little added setting we've included, which will let you only show those on the current intraday. Some people don't want as many horizontal lines on their charts going back in time, so we added that. And OneOSI is back, which obviously you know because you see it on Pete's screen here. What else? There's a few drawing tools, Pete. Do you want me to go over those really quick?
Yeah, why don't you show those? Those icons and the drawing tools. Absolutely.
Yeah, so we moved a few things at the bottom here. You can see we kind of extended out the line tools from the drawing tools to make it a little faster to click and draw. That's a freeform line tool. This snap line here is just like the end of day, where it kind of magnetizes to the candles. And then we have the horizontal line tool here. And then next to it is the user-defined AVWAP. So you can click the anchor and then click a candle to anchor it. And the only other things down here is if you want to, you can now choose what's visible in the bottom toolbar buttons, especially if you have a lot of different paneled charts. This might be helpful to make sure that the toolbar isn't wider than the chart itself. Yeah, so we went over the snapline tool, the AVWAP,
I'll
standard
show them the news
deviation lines.
feature.
Oh yeah, the news feature. Do you want to do that?
No, you can do that. Well, I can do it. Either way is fine.
I got
But
it.
you've got your screen up. Why don't you show them the key stats page, show them the news feature.
Yeah, so you see here news on the main chart. It'll show you recent news for the selected ticker. And next to it here, key stats, Pete had these statistics added here. So quick at a glance, if you wanted some fundamental PE ratio, things like that are added here. Really nice, keeps things clean. One less thing to open up a browser, etc. Right, Pete?
And if you click that one link there too, you'll be able to see the most recent earnings release, press
Right here.
release.
There it is. Pretty cool. The only other thing is, oh yeah, tag list. So if we go over to watch list really quick, we have this special list here called tags. This bookmark icon on a chart will add, your kind of tag lists tag tickers as you go and add them here. Originally, this always reset each day, but we added a little setting here in app settings to toggle that on and off. You can choose whether or not you want those tag lists to stay. Some people like to track things over multiple days, especially swing traders. Yeah, that's all I have for now, Pete. What else did we want to go over?
I am trying to kind of go through, well, we talked about the dark and light themes. You can discuss kind of workspaces and how to save those.
Sure, yeah. I'm sure most of you guys figured this out already, but we have a workspace feature so you can save your layouts. When you save them, they save here in load workspace. There's a couple that you can't save over, the default and Pete's single monitor that'll ship with, so you can get started trading without having a lot of setup. But yeah, if you wanted to, you can always export these workspaces and setting files. You could import them from other traders if you wanted to use those features. But basically, it saves the panel layouts, saves the charts themselves, it saves the chart templates, which are the indicators on the charts. In the settings, you have things saved like the app settings here. You have the theme color saved, the bullish and bearish color if you've changed those. What else, Pete? What else am I missing here on workspaces? Oh yeah. Let's mention this. So if you go to the chat room, I guess we can start there. I think that's where we have it saved. We have shared workstations on OneOption. Not sure where the link is. Here it is. Yeah, so we have shared workspaces, say, on OneOption.com. So if you want to, you can look here, find a few workspaces that others have shared, and use that as a launching off point. Which I think is a nice little feature. I'm gonna go through some questions, see if we have anything else.
If you could, why don't you show how to right click and how to set all of your charts up with the settings, the margins, the visibility.
Oh, right.
All your different charts to use that same configuration.
Yeah, what Pete's talking about here is the chart settings. You click chart settings by right click on the chart background, you get this little dialog box. Yeah, and you can change the top margin, which is the space up here, the bottom margin, the space down here, the right margin over here, the y-axis interval, how often these numbers occur, the font size, the line color and text color, the background color, whether or not grids are visible, the scale, which we keep at log because that's how most of us trade. And you can apply it to all charts using this checkbox. So if you want to keep the same settings across all of your charts, you can do that. Other settings via right click, we could mention you can untag a symbol here, add price and complex alerts, remove trend line alerts. We are showing earnings icons and price line and orders right now. The earnings icons are these little blue A's and B's and E's if there's an upcoming one that shows the earnings dates. The price line is this horizontal line, the current last price. And you can add studies, configure key bars if they're here, remove studies and drawings. Yeah, it's pretty streamlined. We're always finding little things. So if you think of anything that makes your life a little easier as a trader, add it in the suggestion box. I like those. I usually try to squeeze them into the releases because they often don't take a lot of time for us to make happen. So let us know. The only other thing I think we forgot to mention earlier was with the columns. If you hover over the column headers, you get a little tooltip explaining what that variable is. So you can see this is 20-day average volume. You wouldn't know that by looking at average volume here. Volume is today's volume. It's not the candle's volume. Liquidity is option liquidity rating. So use that to check in on things. And just like this bottom caret here on the bottom toolbar, we have the bottom carets up here, like Pete mentioned, for candlesticks and visible time frames. Yeah, let's see what else people talked about.
Any plan to add keyboard shortcuts to tools/drawings?
Yeah, there is. I know, Pete, you don't love keyboard shortcuts. Oh, although you use them for your live videos, don't you?
There's some stuff I got to tell you, over the last 2 years, it's Will say, "Oh, we need to add this, we need to add this." I'm like, "Really?" So I just let him call the shots. Like, you have discretion, and that's been a good call on my part to let Will just run with it. So yes, he does want to add more hotkey features.
Yeah, I do. I'd like to, be able to quickly add trend line alerts or just trend lines in general by keyboard shortcut. Yeah, we'll probably poll the chat room and see what members want to use for those to start. And if that's super popular, we could even offer key bindings, which would let you choose what you want to do. But
Why don't you
definitely,
show him
yeah.
the crossbar toggle? The
Oh,
space bar for crosshair, I get that a lot.
right, yeah, just the caps lock will toggle on and off
Caps lock.
crosshairs on charts. It's a pretty nice feature. And it'll do it on all charts. Yeah, it's things like that that make it easy. The space bar people really wanted. What else? I'm
I
looking
think
through
that's
what
about
we.
it. We're kind of hitting it at the 1 hour mark, which I kind of was hoping to keep it within. And what's the difference between OneOTL and ABTL? I don't have ABTL released. I mentioned that to you. I am testing it. I'm just showing you some of the things that I'm working on. I may never release it. It's something that I need to test to determine if there's any reliability, if there's any significance, just like everything else that I'm working on right now. AVWAP-Q, AVWAP-E. These are things in Brian Shannon's book, by the way, which he was like, I don't know, maybe they work, maybe they don't work. I don't know. I haven't tested them. Well, I have tested them. And that's why I released them, because I find them to be very, very valid. So he had lots of other different anchor points for VWAP. I've tried them. I've tried a bunch of them. I haven't found those to be nearly as reliable. Plus, Q and E make sense to me. And that's why I feel that they're so valid. So OneOTLAB you may never see it. I'll see how I like it and if it works and if it's relevant. And if I feel that it's something that'll help you, then I'll release it.
One thing I forgot to mention, Pete, was the market view over here. We've done a lot to it. You can see now that you have custom columns available on the bottom here. We've still have the industry here and the sector window here. We've added filters that you have over on the scanner, so you can filter these stocks in a counter. And yeah, I'm proud of that. It's a really nice tool. I know a lot of people do top-down analysis, so this will help you guys do that. We're adding sector and industry columns as column options for all your lists in the next release. So look out for that. I think that's it, Pete. We're looking pretty good. Otherwise, there's a lot of little exciting stuff, odds and ends. If anyone's interested in helping us out, we always like your help. So yeah, reach out with suggestions and we can go from there.
Will has been relentless in working on the group and sector analysis. It might sound like this is something that's easy. It's not. Those stocks are categorized differently across different financial institutions that do that kind of categorization, and it's difficult. It's very difficult.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you know, you can quickly get the categorizations for the most popular 3,000 to 6,000 to 7,000 stocks, but beyond that, and we have about, I don't know, 10, 11 in some of our data feeds, it gets more difficult. And there's at least 3 or 4 mainstream categorization techniques: SIC, GICS, Morningstar. Yeah, so we're just taking the time to make sure it's in the way you guys expect it, you know, as traders, looking at places like Yahoo Finance, FinViz, other platforms. Yeah, it takes time, but we'll get there. And we're doing the same with all our data. We're always trying to improve it. It takes work, but it's worth it, you know, to know that the data you see on the platform you can trust. And that's our main goal.
I'm going to conclude with one thing, and I should have mentioned this with regards to the Schwab API, your backup. If you use Option Stalker Pro, your backup is the Intrinio data feed. Is it perfect? No, it only has one exchange. It is real time. If you're on the trial and you don't have one of the 3 brokerage firms, use Intrinio. You can still check out Option Stalker Pro and see all the different features that are available, especially if you're a swing trader. You're not trading off of an M5 chart anyway. M15 and higher, it's going to look just the same. All the searches, all the indicators, they all come from our servers. The last price that's printed on that one exchange, IEX, is going to be very representative of where the last price was across the consolidated tape, because they mirror the bid ask. That's how all these ECNs work and exchanges. They mirror the bid ask. So you're going to have some volume. You're not going to have as much volume. Obviously, if it's a very thinly traded stock that trades less than 500,000 shares, well, what are you trading that for anyway? But yeah, you're not going to have a great M5 chart there. So Intrinio is your backup. So we'll see if I can start building the swing trading audience. Then there's a good chance that we may actually have a 15-minute delayed SIP data, which is a consolidated tape. So everything 15 minutes and older is going to be pristine. It will be perfect. And then we will augment that with the IEX real-time data. So it'd be really slick, but one step at a time. Got to get that audience built up for swing trading, and that's why we're working on the alerts to be able to have OS send those alerts via the app. And I'm also going to be working on some really cool swing trading searches. I
Yeah.
think that's about it, Will. Anything else you want to add?
No, it's feeling great. Yeah, no, this was fun. Let us know what you guys think of this. If this was helpful, we'll try to do workshops like this for maybe new members every quarter or so. I don't know, just throwing an idea out there. But we're open to suggestions when it comes to engagement too. So let us know what you think about this, how we can improve. And we're always available. You can reach Pete at the support line all the time, which I mean, it's crazy that you get a pro trader doing customer support, but Pete loves to do it. And yeah, you can reach me at email too. And so do it. We love to hear from you guys, and it's helpful. Whatever we can do to improve, we will.
Well, that does keep me in touch with what's going on with the platform, the issues you're having, the suggestions that you have. That's not the way to provide suggestions. So, left margin, go to that settings menu at the top, click it, use the suggestion box, please, because that is how you're going to get our attention. Thanks so much for attending, everyone. Will, thank you for your countless hours, your effort that you've put into making Option Stalker Pro as good as it is right now. I love using it. It's so cool. Thanks again, everyone. Thank you, Will.
Thanks, Pete.